Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about video game sales results in the United States and $100 skin packs and 2x KO. It's going to be a good one because we have Mat Piscatella on the show. Matt, how are you doing?
Well, hello, Jeff Grubb. Hello, everyone in chat. It's great to hang out again. This is really fun. Thanks for the invite.
No, absolutely. Anytime. Love to get you on the show. Love to get you on the show, especially on a day like this when you drop a bunch of info for us to discuss. A lot to dig into there. We will definitely get to it. But how are you doing otherwise? I think the last time we had you on, I was talking about how are you keeping up with games? I'm certainly struggling. We decided to have Golf Week in the middle of the busiest release season of the year. So it's like, yeah, why not fall even further behind? Although I'm sneaking in some Final Fantasy Tactics here and there. I'm still playing some Hades too, but how about you? What are you playing?
Well, I wrapped up Mafia: The Old Country, and as a person of Sicilian descent, boy, oh boy, did I love that game. Actually, some of the best story in a game I've seen in years, and it did pretty well on the sales charts, but I think people are sleeping on that game. Like, that's a really interesting kind of old school story, single player narrative game that people say they want. Go check it out. And after I wrapped that up, I started Sopa yesterday, which is a really cute Pixar-ish adventure game that just came out, set in, I think, Central America. The story about this kid helping his grandmother make soup. And man, I'm kind of enjoying that really cool kind of just good vibes kind of game, because man, good vibes, I'll take all I can get.
Hard to come by. Absolutely. That was what was the name of the game? Sopa, like
Sopa.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's really cute. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun music, and the characters kind of dance to the music as they're going. I don't know, man. It just
sounds wholesome and nutritious. So yeah, no, I want to check it out.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I get it. I played the first couple hours of that Mafia game and was really into it, to the surprise, I think, of a lot of the audience, because they know my thing. They're like, oh, story, I just want to have the fun gameplay. But that's usually not the problem. The problem is when a game gives me a bunch of options and then gets in the way of me doing what I want. This game's like, no, we're telling a story. This is not an open world game. You should know that. It's right in your face about all that stuff. So it's delivering these vignettes and these scenes. And it's like, for that, I've said it before, it reminded me a lot of The Order 1886, a game I think is pretty good. And this one is like maybe an even better expression of that idea of like, here, let's just do some pretty visuals, some cool characters, really, just put a lot of detail into each scene. So I should go back and finish that game. It wasn't too long, right? It's like a 8-hour game-ish.
A little bit longer. I think I took about 12, but okay. I took my time. I looked at everything because it's beautiful. And yeah, man, like, it's an old school, like, here's a mafia movie that you're playing through, and it was fantastic. I loved the story beats. I loved the end, how that, no spoilers, but, things happen. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. It helps that I'm, Sicilian and all, and I was like, the home country. I got to go check it out. But, well worth the time, in my opinion. But we'll, who knows?
Yeah, I might have said this before as well, but that game just feels like the right move for a studio that had been working on something else that got canceled. They had to shift gears relatively quickly. They kind of went to ground to go make another sequel in a franchise that they had done before. And it's like, but it doesn't seem like you're going to have as much money or as much time. So how do you cut back? I think they made all the right choices personally for a game like that.
Great. I mean, I just really like the writing and the characters. Yeah. And you could tell they had to cut some, not necessarily cut corners, but they had to streamline some things. And
yeah, of course,
you can't go everywhere you want to go, and there's some limitations. But just in terms of the story and where it takes you, man, I really enjoyed that game.
Let's explain what we do here. We're Giant Bomb video game doofuses. We are independent games media out here on our own, but not really, because we have you at our backs. You go to giantbomb.com/join, become premium members. You can support what we're doing here, keep stuff like this happening, keep helping us get together. We have the Giant Bombathon happening soon, where we're going to try to set up our future right there, then and there, 24-hour live stream together out there on the East Coast. It's going to be a really good time. That's happening later this month. Look out for more and more details as we drop more and more as we get closer. But hey, if you want stuff like that to keep happening, join. giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. A lot of people already have. We really, really appreciate it. It means the world to us. If you can't, Never try to like drop us money if you can't afford it. You just go tell a friend. That's the way to help. We really appreciate that as well. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into. So let's start the morning mess with the aforementioned Circana report here from Matt. For August 2025 U.S. video game market highlights. Let's kind of just start here at the top with some of these details. NBA 2K26, mobile, and Nintendo Switch 2 drove 11% spending growth in August when compared to a year ago, helping lift total projected spending across video game hardware, content, and accessories to $4.7 billion. Matt, like on its face, it's like if the numbers are up, that's good. You write this this intro the same way each time, so I think people can be like, okay, yeah, compare it from this month to that month. That's easy, but of course, there's so much underlying currents and other forces that we should take into consideration. What would you add there in terms of color?
Well, I think the most important part when it comes to the August month is that NBA 2K is traditionally a September release. It's one of the biggest releases of the year, every single year. This year, it happened to fall in the August tracking month. So we do have a situation where we're pulling forward a lot of dollars that would traditionally be in September into the August month. So that helps a lot with that 11% growth. Now, we do have some very positive signs. The Nintendo Switch 2's launch, we'll get into it more, continues to be very strong, continues to be trending as the best-selling video game console hardware of all time in the US, or the fastest selling, I'll put it that way. And mobile, which had been lagging for a couple of years there, is now back to a single-digit percentage growth rate from our friends over at Sensor Tower, who we partner with on the mobile side. Now, there, like you said, there's all kinds of stuff under the surface there, but on the top beats for this month in particular, that's that NBA move and Nintendo Switch 2 really helping offset the double-digit declines we're seeing on things like PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and the OG Switch.
And, it's NBA 2K obviously carrying the load here, but there were quite a few new games in the month. Madden as well. Was Madden a late launch in the month? Is that right? I can't remember. Was that middle one?
With the various bundles that were involved too, it's kind of hard.
That's a good point.
They were selling a lot of the MVP bundle last month with and that's
EA number 8. Yeah, it was number 2 last month. Yeah, I see that. Okay, yeah, EA Sports Kickoff bundle. What is that?
That's the not MVP. That's the That's the combination of the normal base SKUs of college football and
not advanced access, but you still get both games. Okay.
Yeah, you get both games, but at a lower price than the MVP bundle, which has all the extra add-on content. Yeah, it's messy these days with the creative ways companies are finding to sell games. But yeah.
Yep, and raise that average sales price. I'm sure that's kind of the goal there a little bit. Madden NFL 26, it was number 2. So number 3, Mafia: The Old Country. You said it before we even got started here, but that to me, that's pretty respectable. Of course, we don't put numbers to these things necessarily, but anything kind of getting up above, EA Sports College Football 26 in its second month. If you're above that, if you're Mafia, that's really respectable, right?
It is, it was better than I expected. I'm very happy to see that as the fan of the game. Bias implied. But with this kind of game, as maybe it sticks around for a month or two, but then it'll fall off. These are games that tend to do really well at launch, and then they'll do well again once they get that price down and they get that long tail. But great start. Really happy to see it. Would like to see more, but that's just again because of my inherent bias.
Yeah, again with this game, it's just, to me, it's like I think 2K and this development team went into it with their eyes open, knowing it was going to be one of those games that could pop off when it launches and then it falls off the chart. So hopefully internally they're able to budget for that and predict for that. Obviously, they always want every game to be to have long legs and stick around for forever and ever. But I'm hoping these companies can still greenlight projects knowing it's going to be like this. Number 3 on the chart for the first month, maybe fall a little bit, and then maybe we don't ever see it on here again, which is entirely possible. Number 4, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. That's also new on the chart. And then we get the EA Sports College Football 26 at number 5. Gears of War Reloaded at number 6. That's probably a lot of PlayStation sales for that one, right?
It is, but actually, these games continue to sell okay across the platforms, even if they're on the subscription service. But yeah, right. For the Xbox games coming to PlayStation for the first time, you're going to see a pretty strong PlayStation split there.
Yeah, that one's like, I think if you had the last update of Gears of War on Xbox, you automatically got this update. So it's like, oh, of course, that's going to be a factor as well. Donkey Kong Bonanza dropped from 3 last month to number 7. Then that EA Sports MVP bundle at number 8 and EA Sports Kickoff bundle at number 9. And then number 10 is Demon Slayer. That's a lot of other words, but it was that was a big jump there. Do you know what happened there?
I believe it was discounting, but I'm not sure in particular on this one. I did have to change the font size on the chart because that title was so long. But yeah, I haven't really dug into that particular bumps yet. I get like 24 to 36 hours to turn this around. So that'll be next steps. That's one of those next step follow-up things I start looking into.
As far as hardware goes, monthly hardware spending increased by 32% when compared to a year ago to 312 million. Nintendo Switch 2 sales were able to offset double-digit percentage declines across each of PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and the original Switch. You have numbers here, 2.4 million units sold life to date over its first 3 months on the market. Nintendo Switch 2 is now 5% ahead of the previous record-setting pace of PlayStation 4, which sold 2.2 million units during the 3 months ending January 2014. And then it's, you said, 77% ahead of the time-aligned sales of the original Nintendo Switch. I think, the good news here is that this thing is still selling, despite there being like quite a bit of supply. It's not like people feel like they got to rush out and get it. I've started to see Switch 2s on store shelves. Part of me thinks that that's a double-sided thing of, one, Nintendo wanted to produce a lot of these things just because they were maybe a little bit sick of dealing with supply constraints and they had extra time so they could do that. And then two, they want to get a lot of these systems into the country while they still understand what tariffs are in this moment. So they get a bunch in there, have them on store shelves ready to go for the holidays. That can't hurt, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, you don't set a launch sales record without having the units to sell, right? Because just about every new hardware platform outside of Wii U is subject to supply constraints at launch. So, setting that record, it was because they produced a lot.
Yep.
Maintaining a 5% advantage 3 months in, you can't hit that without the units, but those units you make have to sell, and so far they're selling. So I think that's a really good sign.
Okay.
We do need to get through the first holiday. That's really going to tell a lot about the story. But the initial response to this is everything I think anyone could have hoped for, whether a Nintendo or a market analyst like me. It's doing a good job of offsetting the declines we're seeing on the older systems. So we are still seeing hardware sales growth year on year, driven by the Switch 2. It's also being driven by higher pricing overall, but we can get into that a little bit. But really, great start. Need to see the holiday, but hey, great position to be in. I'd rather be in this position than not. So,
yep, yeah. And like the holiday, like you said, would be a big question. But it's I think Nintendo's going to maintain their price while everything else has gone up around them. I think they're going to be able to take advantage of people being like, oh, I'll get a Switch 2 now while it's still $500. Maybe that'll light a fire under some people. I don't know. How sensitive is the common consumer to that? Not exactly sure. Worth pointing out, because 1 or 2 or 50 people in chat mentioned it, Demon Slayer, that movie came out, and it was the #1 movie at the box office for a couple weekends in a row, maybe a few weekends in a row, actually. So that probably helped that game.
Oh, man, it's a team effort. Thanks, chat.
Yep, they always tag in a little bit there, and we appreciate it. Okay, so year-to-date, video game hardware spending has grown 20% versus a year ago, reaching 2.9 billion. Unit sales are up 6.5% year-on-year, with the average selling price increasing by 12.3% to $453 per unit sold. So, I don't know, a couple years ago, what would that number have been around? Do you have an idea? Could you pull that off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no, but I have a chart I was going to post later today that has that specific number. It goes up. I'll throw that up later today though, but we're seeing the highest prices we've ever seen. Now we usually get these cyclical pricing changes over time, right? A new box comes in, the prices go up. A new box becomes an older box, they drop the price, the average price goes down. Well, the older boxes aren't dropping in price anymore. So we're no longer seeing that dip we would normally see because these old boxes are getting more expensive, which is weird. But yeah, I'll throw that up later today. It's a significant price increase than say it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, we saw this story happen with GPUs for 10 years straight, and the hardware manufacturers for consoles are kind of replicating that now, and they'll keep these price increases. They'll pocket them as we go forward, kind of no matter what happens, I guess barring some detrimental collapse of the economy, which, hey, who knows? We'll see.
And they might, because, the console audience is becoming more enthusiast focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
The folks that don't have the dollars to spend when they're looking at a $453 box, and there's a lot of people that just can't afford that, they'll default to Fortnite or Roblox. They'll default to their whatever PC they already have or their mobile device. I mean, we're seeing that happen in real time right now as the prices in everyday spending categories like shelter and insurance and grocery continue to grow. And, if we get some of these shocks in areas like insurance that we might be expecting, that could also have a further impact on the dollars available for a category like console gaming, which, is becoming more exclusionary because these prices are getting so high.
Yeah, we do. There's like a lot of like big scary things right on the horizon in terms of prices going up on a bunch of different things. And we talked about insurance. I keep hearing, your electricity bill, which is already high, going to get even higher here very soon. And there's no way around it, apparently, for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be paying a lot more for that. And it's like that stuff will add up for sure. Yeah. And I will be interested to see how these companies try to navigate that. If it's like doubling down on the most price insensitive consumer. In fact, let's bring that next story in here right now as we kind of like talk about all this. Majority of U.S. gamers buy a max of 2 games annually, Analysts says. That's you. Do you want to break this down for us?
Yeah, so it's important to note this includes all video game players, whether they're console players or mobile players or sub. The majority of players play across 2 or more devices. So directionally, at least, you can quibble with the percentages if it would be just console players or just PC players, of course. But just from a general trend perspective, what we're seeing, and we've been seeing this for a while, is that the majority of the market plays their 1 or 2 games or enjoys the franchises they enjoy, and they don't pay attention to everything else. Now, people in chat, these are the most hyper enthusiasts. Like, they know everything going on. But if you look at a game, even a game as popular as Hollow Knight Silksong, the majority of video game players have never heard of it. But the folks that are very invested know everything about it, right? So we have this dichotomy. And those players who are very invested in 1 or 2 franchises, or they have their group of friends that they play only a specific game with, they're going to buy a game a year, 2 games a year, the Madden or EAFC and Call of Duty folks that we've been talking about for years. That's a real thing. But what we're seeing is that smaller group, that most dedicated audience, the folks watching this, they're the ones that are really carrying the enthusiast market or that dedicated market. They're the ones that are spending on subscription. They're the ones that are buying games. And in this case, what we're seeing in terms of the trend data is that, that small hyper enthusiast audience is more important than ever when it comes to basically sustaining a lot of these games that don't reach that mass market. And hopefully that audience grows because we kind of need it to, especially with the exponential increase in the number of games being released on platforms like Steam. Like we have far more games than we have audience to maintain the purchase pattern on an average basis across it. Yeah, so that's kind of the challenge. But yeah, we're seeing that concentration of the hyper enthusiasts really driving a lot of what we're seeing in the premium market. And by that I mean games that force you to pay upfront rather than a free-to-play game.
Yeah, and what I think about when we talk about this and we talk about the hyper enthusiasts supporting the market is I just worry about this a little bit of a death spiral of we are so tapped in, that so that we pay attention when they do things like raise prices or kind of manipulate things in a way that we think is unfair, and we're paying attention, and we're very sensitive, and I've said before, we're very whiny, and I don't think many people listening to this would disagree with that. We are loud and obnoxious to these companies, and a lot of times these companies earn it and deserve to like be criticized, but there are a lot of companies in markets that make a lot of money that don't have an audience that's very tapped in, and yet they still make a ton of money from that. And the company like Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo, they know that, they recognize that, and I think they become a little resentful of us. And they're like, hey, if you want us to keep making games like this, you are going to have to pay more. Show up and pay more. And then we get madder, and they get more resentful, and it kind of just like, and they start looking for other opportunities to spend their money in a market segment that does not involve a lot of loud, whiny people who are super tapped in. Now, they've maybe not been able to find a lot of that. That maybe hasn't worked as well. And some companies that have, they still want to keep growing this side of things to a certain degree. But it just feels like eventually something breaks here, and maybe we're in the middle of that a little bit, or maybe not breaks, but corrects. And we end up in a situation where these companies have to reassess how interested they are in serving us the kinds of content that we're interested in. And yeah, if we're not growing, if this space isn't growing, it's like, and that does feel like it has to be driven mostly by them, those companies marketing and getting people interested. If they lose interest in that, it does feel like a slow kind of death march of this thing shrinking. And again, it doesn't die, it doesn't go away, but it just becomes less vibrant and less and over reliant on indie games. And then those indie games have to serve a shrinking audience as well, like you were saying. I don't know. I'm often pessimistic about these things, and I know that we can get on the other side, but it's worth pointing out the potential pitfalls, I think, as we talk about this.
Yeah, I like to call like amplified voices rather than whining.
Yeah.
And they amplify their voices to friends and family, right? And they're very, if someone's just a casual video game fan, like, oh, I like video games, but I don't really know what's going on. But you have that one friend or family member that's really into it, their opinion becomes super important to your own
opinion, yeah.
Right? So like that. So it's not just the hyper enthusiast audience themselves that you have to worry about. It's what they're saying to their friends and family. Like the network effect there can be pretty devastating for a game. Like how many times have we seen this, right? A game comes out day one, someone takes a screenshot and somebody's face is half missing. All of a sudden, everyone that's the story. Yeah, that's it. Because everyone who sees that tells all their friends, oh, what? No, don't play that. The thing's garbage, right? So anyways, yeah, it's tough. We are becoming more and more reliant on a small audience of price insensitive players. A lot of them are particularly subject to changes in the macro economy when it comes to things like higher prices. And, I worry about getting to a point where we just squeeze people so much that they have to just choose free to play because they have no other option. And we're seeing fewer and fewer of those big traditional games that we used to see. Like now we're seeing, fewer of those games over like those big, however many A's you want to apply, those games being released. And it's tough because those are just really risky bets for what can be fickle audience. Like you said, now, yeah, there's still plenty of opportunity. It's still a huge market. Folks like Nintendo are figuring it out, but it's everybody else that has to try to figure out their own path. Not everyone can be Nintendo, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and it's maybe not even as extreme as like that I was talking to you before about like Synology, like pissed off all of their core users with their NAS, their network attached storage things. And it's like they like tried to prevent people from putting in non-Synology hard drives into those things, and they blocked that, and they basically their NAS sales dropped off a cliff. As far as I'm aware, I'm only vaguely like aware of the goings-ons there. I'm not that much of a nerd. Everybody, come on. But that it's like, in that space, that is your entire audience. You cannot piss those people off, so you have to cater to them. You have to sort of treat them as kind of like soft things that are delicate, and you have to keep them happy and feeling good about your thing. Maybe video games aren't quite the traditional video games that we talk about on this show aren't quite there, but it definitely feels close. And I think the thing for the video game company is they do have some other options when they look at mobile and free to play. And again, they maybe tapped out some of that. And the company like EA tried mobile a bunch of times and hasn't quite got it to work. But yeah, the future continues to be a little bit cloudy.
Or yeah, if you look at the response to the Game Pass price hikes, right? Like I don't know if they expected such strong pushback from that core community. We'll have to see, because people say what people say they do and what they actually do can be different, right? And everyone says, "Oh, I'm going to cancel." Well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just mad and said that. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what the data says, but if that conversation extends to friends and family, then all of a sudden, like friends and family are like, well, I'm not going to, no. Like the person I know that loves games is telling me this is a bad deal. I'm out, man. Like, so we'll have to see what develops over time. But yeah, right now, the industry move is to maximize revenue per user, whether that's through premium game pads or premium consoles or deluxe editions of video games at a higher price point, like the various bundles we were just talking about. I mean, that's the plan right now, and you can only do that for so long.
Yep. Anecdotally so far, it's like, yeah, I've had people tell me that friends in their lives, the casual players, have started bringing up, hey, what's going on with Xbox? They're just done, right? So it's, maybe it's getting out there. That's anecdotal. We don't know. You're right. We'll have to kind of wait to see the reflection in the actual numbers. Anything else worth pointing out, Matt, from your report this morning? What's happened with accessories? Anything else worth pointing out from mobile that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, on the mobile side, I think what's interesting, what's going on with mobile is we're seeing a lot of the same types of trends we're seeing in like the console space, where we have these big evergreen games kind of dominating. This in recent months, we've seen some churn there. Our friends over at Sensor Tower, particularly Sam Maun, he talks about that in the release I posted. But it's kind of interesting how the parallels are starting to form between something like the mobile and the console market. The other thing that's really going to be interesting to watch is the developing PC handheld space. That's been a developing market for a little while. It's still very enthusiast niche. But with the various systems coming up, there's an opportunity for that to become a little more widely accepted. But those price points, those can, those could be an issue for a lot of potential buyers. So we'll have to see how that develops over the rest of this year.
Yeah, and it's like Valve subsidized the cost of the Steam Deck, and that kind of set expectations, and all these other players came in there like, well, we ain't doing that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. These things used to cost $1,300, and here we are again. That'll slow down that growth. I think people are curious about it. I do think the Steam side of it does still scare off quite a few casual players and people who are just like, I know I want something very familiar, something I've used before. And the Xbox has a chance to do that, but not with that price. The ROG Ally X.
Not with that price.
No. Yeah. Yeah, $1,000 for the X version. It was $600 for the non-X version. Even that's like, ooh, okay, that's rough. All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, plenty more headlines to get into. There's some reviews dropping for stuff like Yooka-Replaylee, Little Nightmares 3. We'll talk about all of that after this. If you want to skip out on that, there is a premium version of the audio show and the video show without the ads. You can get that by going to giantbomb.com/join. Become a premium member. We'll be right back.
Grubb, I love podcasts, and I would like to listen to more of them.
Oh boy, I've got the podcast for you then, bud. Stage Select.
But Grubb, I have trust issues, especially with podcasters.
Look, it's always important to be careful and safe about podcasters, but don't worry. Host Julian Titus and Justin Ham have over 16 years of combined podcasting experience, and the Stage Select is finishing up its second season at the end of the year.
Holy smokes, what a pedigree. Tell me more, Grubb.
Oh, what about a video game variety show where the hosts act as if they're performing for a live studio audience?
Kind of like The Muppet Show. Do they have reoccurring characters, shenanigans, bits, and skits?
Oh, baby, we got bits. We got skits.
I love bits and skits. Is there more?
The show is designed to be unexpected, Jan. They'll go to space, sometimes a surprise game show. Expect the unexpected. Space!
Grubb, I'm hearing that episodes 41 and 59 are fantastic points to get a vibe of the show. Julian and Justin are fiercely independent and do this for the love of video games and podcasts?
Oh yeah, they draw from the best, like the Giant Bombcast, Nextlander, Rebel FM, and No One Can Know About This.
Well, Grubb, I'm glad I know about this podcast.
That's Stage Select. Give it a listen.
Bits and skits!
Game Mass Mornings, we're back. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Mat Piscatella. Let's continue on here with the headlines, including Yooka-Replaylee reviews are in. It's got an 81 on OpenCritic, 6 out of 10 here from Jordan Biordi at CG Magazine, who says Yooka-Replaylee does make some much-needed improvements to the 2017 original, but fails to fix the fundamental flaws that made its predecessor so divisive. Got a 7.5 out of 10 from John Raridan at Nintendo World Report, who says, but it is disappointing that I can't say that more definitively. I'm not exactly sure what that was. I think I might have cut that off when I was copying and pasting here. There are a lot of great quality of life updates, but between stability issues and some questionable feature removals, it is hard to recommend this version without reservation. As I said at the outset, I like the original Yooka-Laylee, and I like Yooka-Replaylee. I think I could say that it probably fixes more than it breaks, but I'd rather it avoided breaking anything in the first place. Got an 8 out of 10 from Mitch Vogel at Nintendo Life, who said Yooka-Replaylee, in most ways, feels like the game that Yooka-Laylee was meant to be. The core experience has remained the same, but much has been added or tweaked to make it for a significantly more confident and streamlined experience. Though the technical issues hold it back a bit, at least on Switch 2 at launch, this is still a clear improvement over the original and a game that no fan of 3D platforming genres should miss out on. Even if you played the original to completion, I'd say Yooka-Replaylee is still very much worth your time and money. Man, I'm someone who played some Yooka-Laylee and was like, you know, this feels like one of those ones where it's like, hey, I love this genre. I love the game that it is a spiritual successor to. And this one just feels like it slightly misses the mark for me, which I get. That happens a lot with these spiritual successors. And I was hoping Yooka-Replaylee would be like, okay, we've made just some slight edits to get it over the finish line. And I think there's still a chance that for me it might do that. You know, but overall, I think it does sound like it's not exactly the total reimagining that some people were hoping for. You ever playing a Yooka-Laylee?
I did, kind of in the same boat. The fundamental flaws that made its predecessor so divisive kind of knocked me out of it after like an hour. Like, I love the fact that the game was made and that they were going for what they were going for. But yeah, it never really hit with me. But man, remakes and remasters strike again.
Oh, yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah, you know, it's fine if people love it. That's awesome. But yeah, not for me.
Yep. And then we have Little Nightmares 3 with a 74 on OpenCritic. 7 out of 10 here from Mark Delaney at GameSpot, who says new developer Supermassive Games takes, and that's new developers and new to the Little Nightmares series. Supermassive Games takes Little Nightmares in a familiar direction, though co-op does mix things up in a welcome way for the series. It has a 6 out of 10 from Tristan Ogilvy at IGN. Little Nightmares 3 features a little innovation, few scares, and limited appeal if you've already played the previous 2 games, unless you're dead keen to experience the series' signature brand of stop-start stealth with a friend in tow. And then 7 out of 10 from Dominic Layton at the 6th Axis. Little Nightmares 3 is a gorgeously crafted collection of grim visuals, memorable creatures, and fear-inducing horror. The co-op play is a natural and understandable evolution for the series, but it does alter the overarching atmosphere, albeit subtly. There's always seems like there is like a space for the spooky game, the game with like a lot of like dark atmosphere. This one though, with the new developer on it, doesn't seem like it's quite hitting for some people. But that audience usually just seems so starved for these kinds of things. I wonder if they'll show up anyhow.
I wonder if they will too. I'm also curious about how they show up at that $40 price point, which I was a little taken aback. Now I know we want to make sure that developers get compensated for the work they're doing, and you know the game could surely be worth that much. But I was a little surprised looking at the other similar games like it, that the $40 price point was the one they went with. Seems a little aggressive. I loved the first one. I played the first one to completion. The second one I thought was a little too much like trial and error. Like you go through here, you have no clue about what you're supposed to do. You're going to get whacked a couple times, then you figure it out. So I kind of fell off the second one. And the third one kind of changes the whole thing, right? Goes to a co-op experience, kind of loses a little bit of that single player, ominous, I'm in this by myself kind of deal. So I'm interested in checking it out, but not at $40, but you know, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's so the pricing on any sort of game right now is always such a weird story to tell. Like Lego Party came out recently, and it's like finding out that was $40. It's like that was amazing because it's compared to Mario Party at 60 or 70 now. I can't remember, but like it's like yeah, that's such a good deal for this game that in many ways is very very much better than Mario Party. And so, of course, though, that's not the comparison Little Nightmares gets. The Little Nightmares, I'm like, I just paid much less than that for Silk Song, which was $20, and Hades 2, which I think I got for $30. So it's like, man, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow in this specific case. And like, it's not like there haven't been $40 indie games before The Witness was, but yeah, you always wonder like how they make these choices.
It's all about that price anchoring, right? You get some kind of relative tiering in your head about how much things should be, and then all of a sudden it's like something that's a great deal in one viewpoint's like, oh, what the heck are they doing in another one? And yeah, for a lot of these kinds of games, these like indie hits, they could come out at $20 or $30 originally, but a lot of people are jumping in when they get them on a Steam sale or a deep discount PlayStation sale for $3 or $4 or $5, right? And so there's even a little bit of that anchoring going on. Like, well, I bought the first one for $5. They want 40? Like, I don't know, but maybe that's just my brain talking. But yeah, I don't know. I'll check it out when it's deep discount. I'm not a co-op player, but yeah, I love these kinds of games generally. But yeah, that's a steep one when you look at the other games like it.
Yeah, it does feel like, you get this out for that audience that's like, it has all of their clothes. It's just a spooky shirt from Hot Topic or whatever. Maybe maybe you try to charge them as much as you can right away because they'll show up for that game right away. But I think even that audience is like, you know what, I can wait for a sale. And I think you're probably right about that. All right, let's talk about other games and how they're selling. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 sales top 5 million. A free major update is also in development. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Total sales for turn-based RPG Clair Obscur Expedition 33 have surpassed 5 million units. Publisher Kepler Interactive and developer Sandfall Interactive announced. A free major update is currently in development that will include several additions and updates as a thank you to fans who supported the game. The free major update will add the following content. A new playable environment, taking the characters of Expedition 33 to a brand new location with new enemy encounters and surprises to discover. Challenging new boss battles for late game players to overcome. New costumes for each members of the expedition, giving even more customization options for players throughout their adventure. New text and user interface game localizations into Czech, Ukrainian, Latin American Spanish, Turkish, Vietnamese, Thai, and Indonesian, bringing the total number of supported languages to 19, plus even more surprises fans can look forward to. Man, I think this is a case of, we talked about Mafia being a game that, maybe that's a game that comes out, does okay at launch, maybe does better than okay, falls off the chart, maybe, we don't know yet, but it could. Maybe it's one of those games. I think Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is also a game made thinking that's probably its life cycle. It pops off at launch, and maybe in the best case scenario does really well, and then it trails off and then pops off again because of sales or whatever. It sold an additional 1.7 million units since the last time they gave us an update. So like it did 3.3 million in its first 33 days, and then after that an additional 1.7 million. That's significantly more than a lot of other games in its space do in their lifetime. So it's like, I think here they're like, you know what, let's ride the goodwill. Let's, we're not going to charge for some of these updates. It doesn't sound like it's a ton, but still promising free updates. It's the kind of thing you do when it's like, I've heard good things about this game. It sounds like it's still active. I will pick this game up for the Steam Deck I get for Christmas or whatever, because I'm just waiting for a good excuse. So this just feels like the right strategy for a game that did kind of win the lottery in some ways, right?
Yeah, complete outlier in performance with just phenomenal word of mouth around this game, right? But let me ask you, Jeff, a big topic lately has been the impact of subscription services on sales. Now, I look at a game like Clair Obscur or some of the other games that have come out historically that could have been not ignored, but maybe not seen as prevalent as they were. But you put Clair Obscur in Game Pass. You have the marketing around it in Game Pass at launch. Yeah, you have the marketing around it. You have the people trying it and telling their friends and family. This is one of those games, and I think there are a few that you can look at it and go, you know what? that being on a subscription service at launch may have actually amplified its message and resulted in more sales than it perhaps would have had, particularly on other platforms, that it would have had it not been. I don't know. What's your read on that? Or like Sea of Thieves or some of these other games that have popped off at launch because of their participation in a subservice?
Yeah, I think for a multiplayer game like Sea of Thieves, it's like no matter what, that just seems to be a good. Like whether it's Game Pass or being free as part of place like going back to Rocket League and stuff like that, where it's free for the first month on PS Plus, that sort of stuff. It's like in every situation like that, I think that's the right move. For this, it's like at the very least, you got to say Game Pass didn't hurt it. Like at the very least, it's like we're starting there of like it's a neutral effect. I think I agree with you that for a game like this that was already kind of getting some buzz from people seeing trailers, and they did see those trailers most often in the like Xbox showcase where it first like really popped off. So, and that was part of being in Game Pass. So, you know, that, and people do get excited when it's like, oh, this is a game coming into Game Pass because I'm already subscribed to that. I can feel good about paying attention to this thing because I don't have to convince myself to spend money on it. So I think that like sort of like does, I think the amplification is the exact right word. It's going to do what this game is going to do. And then a Game Pass can come in there and maybe amplify what it was already going to do. So, yeah, I think that is definitely. I never fully bought the idea that Game Pass would completely destroy the sales for every game. I think maybe would eat away some sales for some certain types of games. But it always felt like the network effect in gaming is so important. We talk about over and over again in these conversations, Matt. The highly engaged hyper enthusiast. These are people who talk to each other. They gobble up all the information on the internet. If everyone's talking about a game, that is going to affect them, and more people talk about it because it was in Game Pass. Does that sound right to you?
Well, my hypothesis is, and it's been for a while, although I can't really prove it in the data, or at least I haven't been able to prove it yet, is that the games that have a really strong positive response at launch can be helped by inclusion in a subscription service, but a game that is moderately received or poorly received, it could be absolutely devastating to the potential sales.
Yes. Okay.
I think it's a high-low thing where if a game comes out and it's like, then I think the sales will get crushed by it being in a subservice because again, the amplification, people are trying, they're going, oh, this game's not great. And then boom, done. But if a game comes out like, oh man, I was playing it, it's great. And someone doesn't have an Xbox or they're not a PlayStation Plus member, if a game comes onto PS Plus, like, okay, well, I got to check it out and, you know, I'll pay the money for it. So I think there's something there, although, you know, I can't prove it. And, you know, everyone's going to have their own deeply held belief based on vibes. And you're not gonna be able to fight that most of the time.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, and I you know, I'm sure the sales on Xbox were lower than other platforms, but I think we're talking about this effect breaking out of those walls, and that like affects Steam sales for sure. I think we've seen that over and over again now. So
like Black Ops 6 has been the big conversation point where someone just said a number, like, okay, cool, like you just have a number, that's fine, everyone can have a number. Anyways, besides the point. But if you look at that Black Ops 6 as a total property, I don't know how you look at that and go, it got hurt by being on Game Pass. Now on Xbox, absolutely. Like you're going to be there's going to be trade-offs there. You're going to trade purchases.
You just raise the price of Game Pass though, and then that solves that problem.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, when it comes to the sales on PC or PlayStation, like I didn't see any negative impact based on the Game Pass thing. Of course, this could be a whole 4-day topic on the impact of subscription services. But it's just, I think for this one in particular, I look at this as one of those cases where it's like, okay, you know what? All the positive conversation it could generate at launch was good for this game and has helped it not only establish a strong baseline, like you said, but a strong extended tail, which is more and more rare these days. So, I mean, kudos to them. They really killed it.
Yep. Speaking of Call of Duty hits the emergency red button to prevent a Battlefield comeback. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. Shouts out to Ethan. We're just days away from the launch of Battlefield 6. A lot is riding on the return of EA's long-struggling multiplayer shooter. So naturally, Activision is making Call of Duty Black Ops 6 free for a whole week starting the day before Battlefield 6 drops. It's the latest shot across the bow as the rivalry between the two blockbusters franchises gets heated. Earlier this week, Call of Duty Black Ops 7's free beta trial was extended an extra day to October 9th. Activision is now making last year's entry, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, completely free for an entire week starting that same day. Anyone can download it and play Zombies, multiplayer, or the full campaign until October 16th. That's right smack in the middle of Battlefield 6's launch week, which begins October 10. It's October 10th. It's not a cheap move for Activision to pull, despite being nearly a year old. Black Ops 6 was still the 5th best-selling game in the U.S. in July and remains the 4th best-selling game year to date. Is this an overreaction or a sign of just how desperate the publisher is to protect its annualized and rarely contested golden goose? According to new data from Circana, a majority of people who planned to buy Battlefield 6 also plan to buy Black Ops 7, but only 1 in 4 people planning to buy Black Ops 7 are also planning to buy Battlefield 6. I would say, okay, yeah, that's fair, Matt, but like Activision must be getting some signal here that is telling them it is worth pressing this red button, right?
I love this so much. This is why competition's good, right?
Yep.
This is why we want competition in the space, because it forces developers and publishers and companies to do things like this, to try to improve the value to the consumer.
$20 NFL 2K, right? Yeah.
Right? Like, that's why we want that. Well, that's why I want the industry doesn't want to talk about that later, but I want competition space. I think this is really fun and really cool. And you know what? Good. Like, I'm glad Battlefield's pushing them a little bit and forcing them to try to do a little bit more for the player. Now, like, ultimately, these are two similar but also different audiences. The Call of Duty player is more mass market. The Battlefield player is more enthusiast. There's a lot of crossover there. People that like first-person shooters like first-person shooters. Who the hell would have thought? But Call of Duty has been like, okay, if you look at the past 30 years, and you look at the individual franchise performance in a particular year, and you go, okay, of all those years, all those franchises, the top 20 performances of a single franchise in a single year, 14 of the top 20 spots are taken by Call of Duty games. Like, the scale of Call of Duty in the US market is really, even though everyone knows it, it's underappreciated just how big this franchise is. Now, Battlefield, big franchise, nowhere near the same scope and scale as Call of Duty's been historically. But if Activision or Microsoft's looking at this and going, oh, geez, all right, we got to react to this, that's fantastic. Good for them. I hope Battlefield kills it and they do really well. But this is the kind of thing that's really fun, is when we see competition deliver or competition result in consumer benefits. I think that's really good for the industry as a whole.
Yep, it's definitely an interesting move. I will see if EA has a response. I mean, I think they might be pretty confident about Battlefield 6. We should be getting reviews here pretty soon, at least for people who spent some time with the campaign. I think the servers are live even, so people are playing online if you're able to get a copy early or whatever from retail. And early word's been pretty good, but I think a lot of it will just rely on that first weekend, especially after a very successful betas. And it would be interesting to see if they kind of like go back and forth a little bit, like how far can this go, or if this is just like a one-time thing from Call of Duty.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the engagement charts. Like, I'm gonna be really interested in seeing how many people are playing and the crossover between the two games. It's gonna be really fascinating. I'll be posting some stuff around that.
I think best case scenario here is both games do better than ever, or at least like kind of hit some near highs or something like that. And there's just more people playing this, and that would probably be good for gaming overall. Nintendo's mysterious animated short was a Pikmin tease after all. This is from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. Yesterday, Nintendo released an animated short called Close to You on its YouTube and social media channels. The video was posted with no context, no description, and even its comments were turned off, so no one could speculate about its meaning in the comments. It's got like 10 million views, by the way. Today, Nintendo, and that's just on YouTube. It's on other things. So it's probably close to like 20 million. Today, Nintendo uploaded an updated version of the short on the Nintendo Today app that sheds some light on the mystery by revealing that there were a bunch of invisible Pikmin doing things like moving around the baby's binky and all this stuff and causing mischief and mayhem. Now, we still don't know what this is actually teasing. Is it just the idea of Pikmin? Because I don't know what's happening here. Could be like just new Pikmin shorts, a new Pikmin game. Could be an update to Pikmin Bloom. I know that would be disappointing. Could be a Pikmin movie happening from Illumination, although this doesn't necessarily look like Illumination animation, at least not exactly. But yeah, at the very least, Nintendo has successfully piqued people's interest here.
Yeah, the story I've made in my head, which is complete nonsense, so no one listened to it. The story I made up in my head is someone at Nintendo is like, look, we can be Pixar. Look at what we can do. We can make our own movies. We don't need anybody else. We could be the biggest movie studio in the world. That's the fiction I've created in my head about why this happened. I'd really love that for them to do that. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the buzz, though, you can't really argue with that. People are really talking about this thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit with you, Matt, because it feels to me like this is something that happens because Miyamoto wants it. Pikmin is one of his babies. It's one of the things that he's kind of continued to hold a torch for, even as he's been working on theme parks and movies. But he's deeply involved in the Mario movie, deeply involved in the Zelda movie with Sony Pictures. He probably feels like, I've learned a lot. We bought that, was it called Dynamo Pictures or something like that, now called Nintendo Pictures. They bought that. Maybe he's like, hey, I'm going to bring what I've learned. Let's make some new Pikmin shorts and see if we can kind of up our quality to match something like Illumination and do it in-house. I could see it.
You roll like 10 million, baby. Like, look, one day, hey, we could do this. I don't know. But that would be really fun if that happened.
Yep, I would like to see it. And I would love a new Pikmin game. Pikmin 4 was phenomenal. If they aren't doing that, though, I would gladly take a Pikmin movie or Pikmin show, even if it was just made by Nintendo. That'd be very interesting to see. PowerWash Simulator 2 is launching on October 23rd. That's the release date. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor, and that's the story is the headline here. Although it's worth pointing out, this is the meta right now for games of this scale, right? Like, hey, announce it about 2 to 3 weeks out. Probably once you've submitted it to these platforms and you know for sure you're locked in to get it out by a certain date, because why waste anyone's time doing anything else? Because it's not going to hurt you if you don't announce it 6 months ahead of time, a release date that is. So I expect this to continue to happen. We saw Mina the Hollower get delayed, and they're like, we'll tell you the date once we've submitted it. So we're probably going to hear about that game's release date 2 weeks out as well. Something that happened with both Silksong and Hades 2, right? Those were like, hey, this is coming out 2 weeks from now. This is the move, correct?
It seems to be, yeah. You don't really need the big buildup like we used to have when retail or when physical retail was important. I needed a pre-sale, so yeah, it makes sense. But let me ask you, does this qualify as being part of like the dad game tsunami we've been having lately? Like, does this qualify as a dad game, like quote unquote dad game? Although moms, of course, can play, but it seems like one of those big dad games that tend to do way better than you think they will.
Yeah, definitely. I think any sort of game where you're kind of doing a job and the whole idea is like doing a job well. And that, I think, to me, that's sort of one of the key definitions of a dad game, or even like a dad movie. And this definitely qualifies. And people just like to feel like they've accomplished something. And making something go from dirty to clean, there's actually not much more that can give that feeling of accomplishment than that. Like, you could just see the difference, and then it's spick and span and shiny, and you could feel real good about that.
Man, I got to get into PowerWash Simulator because I don't think I've achieved anything in about 2 years. I'm going to get on this.
It's much easier in video games, it turns out, for real. Hey, PowerWash Simulator is a real winner, though. Yeah, you'll have a good time with that. I recommend that first game. It's a good one multiplayer, but it's also great just to chill out and listen to a podcast, maybe. It's good. Those are some good games. We will definitely be playing this on the website. I know Dan's a big fan of PowerWash Simulator, so we'll play some. Get
me off of MLB The Show. This sounds like a great deal.
There you go. Yeah, save you from yourself.
I'm in. I'm so glad I came on today. And now I'm going to go find some PowerWash Simulator 2.
All right, then let's wrap up today's stories with how you are able to fund a free-to-play fighting game. The only way to get 2x KO's Arcane skins for Vi, V, Jinx, and Ekko is to pay for a $100 bundle. This is from Wesley Yinpool at IGN. Riot's free-to-download League of Legends fighting game 2x KO is out now in early access, and the launch has brought with it various bundles, including one based on much-loved animation Arcane that cost a whopping $100. Fans who want the Arcane skins must buy the $100 Ultra Starter Edition, there is no way to buy the skins for each character separately from this. Individually, you have to get the bundle, $100. This is where skin packs are at, especially for free-to-play games. And it's not like there haven't been free-to-play fighting games with skin packs before. Killer Instinct was that, but that was quite some time ago. And I suppose that we could say the meta on how you charge for skins in games has changed since then, as evidenced by this, right? This is like, oh, hey, fighting games, surprise! This is what it's like.
And hey, man, if you want to spend $100 on this, live your dream. Like people will. And you know what? It's probably easier to sell one $100 bundle than, I don't know, $10 bundles. I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe that's the math they've been doing.
Yeah, maybe.
Or just that FOMO, the FOMO premium on there. But
especially for just launching, it's just going into 1.0, I think. So it's like this was when excitement will probably be at the highest.
Oh yeah, and you have your your super hyper enthusiast, price insensitive player, and you're trying to achieve maximum value for them. This is like the perfect encapsulation of what this market's all about right now.
Yeah, I will say I'm surprised because we would do these stories and I would be like, yeah, man, this is so easy just not to do this. But now I have kids who play stuff like Minecraft and Fortnite, and I'm shocked at how easy it is to just buy a $40 pack of like V-Bucks or whatever. It's like, oh my God, there it just went for. Now, if I had to spend like directly $40 on an item, it would probably be a little bit more difficult. I probably would still do it very often for them, but man, just getting them that money. It's like, oh, here's some extra V-Bucks on top or whatever you can use to get whatever you want later. It's that money just goes down the drain so fast. They really know what they're doing over there.
So easy, and it just requires no thinking for them. Like you can just keep on playing those games and just a little bit here, a little bit there, and all of a sudden they're the biggest things in the world. And 1 out of every 3 people that turn on their box every week is playing Fortnite. Like, yeah, man, like video games 2025. That's where we're at.
Yep. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's go ahead and get to the poll question from Monday, which I have right over here. Let me just refresh the results so we have the most fresh input here from the audience. Okay, when was the last time you used a plastic instrument controller, like for Rock Band? Let's see, the options were this month, this year, within the last 2 years, or 3 years, or more. And 6% said they've done it in the this month. 10%, or 9% then said they've done it within the last 2 years. 10% though said they've done it in the last year, and then 76% said 3 years or more. I'm sure that includes some people who have never done that sort of thing before. But yeah, we just got word that Rock Band 4 is kind of being sunsetted because they aren't going to redo the licensing after the 10-year sort of path that they had. And it's like, yeah, this might be the real like low point for this genre of this industry, not really trying to bring it back this time. I could see that. I don't know. Do you have any insight here, Matt?
Yeah, it's just gonna be living in Fortnite for now, like everything else. I mean, I don't think people really appreciate now just how culturally significant the dance music genre was in the late 2000s, and just what it meant to the video game market, just how big it was, how it was everywhere, and how even the Beatles got involved at one point, saying that this was the future of music. It's wild to think that just, however many years later, it's done. It's gone, basically. It's amazing.
It just, I feel like a book could be written about all of like, why was it driven into the ground? Why was it not done in a sustainable way? And I bet you could lay a lot of that at Activision's feet. But hey, all right, let's see here. We've got a new poll question we'll get to here in a second. Before we do that, though, Mat Piscatella, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky and unfortunately on LinkedIn, where I'm just posting stuff about the video game industry. Like my goal for my public facing stuff is just to, let people, it's the stuff I would have wanted to know growing up and when no one was talking about this stuff. So if you want to chat the business side of games, I'm always around and always happy to try and help where I can.
Excellent. And let's see here, new poll question. It's up now on our YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/@giantbomb/posts, or just click on the post button there, you can find, have you ever paid $20 or more for a skin in a video game? Yes or no are your options. Kind of want to see where people land on this one. I have not many times, but a couple of times. So let's see what the results are for that. We'll get it tomorrow on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, stick with us. It is still golf week, everybody. And if you want to celebrate, you go to store.giantbomb.com. You can get your golf week shirt, your golf week hat, but you can also just watch along as me and Dan take on Game Informer and everybody's golf hot shots here very soon. We'll probably get started in about 10-15 minutes. So we'll be set up for that soon. We'll continue our winning streak, of course, even though I think me and Dan both have not really played this game at all. And then let's see, later today is Blight Club. That's not golf related, but Dan will be going back into Darkest of Days, which he started last week. That's pretty good. Dan, I did order your hat, although I don't think it'll be here until next week. So hopefully you don't finish the game today. And then tomorrow, voicemail dump truck, some other golf stuff. We'll have UPF on Friday, where we're going to do some more golf stuff as well. It's going to be a good time. Thank you for hanging out with us, everybody, this week. Matt, thank you so much for hanging out with me today to talk about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Video games, thank you so much. Great seeing you. Hi, chat. Bye, chat. It was a good time.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.